Well, I guess y'all wanted a care video. Well, hey howdy hey y'all. If y'all did not see, I did an Instagram poll on my Instagram, TheRealPirateToadYT, and I said, would you all rather me do a Q&A or a care video? It's been a while since I've done a care video, but it's also been a while since I've done a Q&A. So I thought it'd be a pretty even matchup, but it seems like a lot of you guys just wanted me to do a care video, so that's what today's video is going to be about. As a matter of fact, 17 of y'all wanted a care video and only 6 of you guys wanted a Q&A. Now you may be wondering, what animal in particular are we going to be doing a care video about? Y'all, the care video is going to be about, not Gucci, just kidding, not Gucci, our Amazon milky frogs. Now a lot of you guys know who our Amazon milky frogs are. This is their enclosure. It's kind of tucked away in the reptile room here. I want to find a better spot for it over time. But this is their enclosure. And then of course, there's one of our Amazon milky frogs. That's Chip. And then the other one is literally chilling somewhere in the enclosure. Now I will admit, Amazon milky frogs are kind of like a dream pet to me. I've wanted Amazon milky frogs for so long, but I only like to buy the adults just because they're a bit more hardy than babies are, and I don't like taking the risk with little baby frogs. So I was lucky enough to find 2 adult male Amazon milky frogs. One's right there, and the other one, I don't know where he's at. He literally goes all over the place. He hides in so many different spots. We'll probably find him here in a little bit. Nonetheless, the Amazon milky frogs are definitely some of my favorite animals in this reptile room. I love them so much. They have such a personality, yet they're so calm and relaxed. Well, y'all, first things first, on this care video, of course, that you're going to have for your Amazon milky frogs is going to be an enclosure. Now I currently have my 2 Amazon milky frogs in an 18-18-24. Now if you plan on getting maybe 3 or 4 Amazon milky frogs, you're going to want an 18 by 18 by 36. Just for a little size reference, an 18 by 18 by 36 will be 1/2 of this enclosure. Now if you got one of these enclosures, you could easily get away with 5 or 6 milky frogs. So currently I have my 2 Amazon milky frogs in an 18-18-24. Obviously it's all bioactive, live plants and everything like that. It's working really well for them. It gives them plenty of spaces to move around. And I really like this enclosure, especially with our 2 adorable milky frogs. Now that we've talked about the enclosure, we're going to talk a little bit about the heating, the temperature, humidity, lighting, all that good stuff. Now when it comes to humidity, I like to keep these guys at about 75 to 80% humidity. Now these little dudes are of course from South America, so they want a very high humidity level. Then of course when it comes to temperature, I like to have them about 75 to 80 degrees. Now I try my best to keep it about 75, about halfway towards the enclosure. Then as you get towards the top, I have it warm up. Now the reason behind that is you want to allow your frogs to thermoregulate, which is basically where that frog can choose its body temperature based off of its heat source and its cool area. So if this little dude wants to get cooler, he can come down here. If he wants to warm up a little bit, he can go towards the top. Now of course the best way to achieve having the proper heat is having a lamp on the top. Now for their heat, I use a 40-watt daylight bulb. The main few reasons why I use a 40-watt daylight bulb is I don't want any of those ugly red lights beaming down on my enclosure. And because for the size enclosure I have, a 40-watt puts off literally the perfect, and I mean the perfect amount of heat for the enclosure. Like right on that top branch right there, it'll keep it sitting about 80 degrees. Then I just use one of these basic solo dome fixtures for the bulb. Now once you've achieved your proper heat and your humidity and all that good stuff in your enclosure, there's one more very important thing that you cannot forget when it comes to lighting on Amazon milky frogs. And that is going to be UVB. Now Amazon milky frogs are part diurnal, so that basically means sometimes they'll come out during the day, and having a UVB bulb is so very beneficial. Not only is it beneficial for the frog's health, but if you have live plants, it helps the live plants grow really well. Now I have this Exoterra Slim Line Dome, and then of course on the bottom down there it's got 2 tropical UVB lights. And then of course having UVB allows your frog's body to absorb calcium. More on that when we get to the feeding side of things. Once you've gotten your heat, you've gotten your UVB, you've got your 80% humidity, your 80 degrees temperature on the top, and about your 75 on the bottom, you are officially good to go temperature and humidity wise. And don't freak out if both fluctuate a degree or 2 or even 3 to 4 degrees. It's not a huge deal, but you don't want them to drop drastically below any of those. Next, we're going to talk about the substrate. Now, I have them in a bioactive enclosure, so all of their substrate here is bioactive, and I personally highly recommend a bioactive setup for Amazon milky frogs. It's so much better than just a basic setup with basic cork and fake plants and whatnot. Obviously, having a bioactive setup looks better, and it's also better on the frogs. Now, in my case, if you are doing a bioactive setup, you're going to, of course, want your drainage layer, then your mesh, then a really good solid substrate. I also like to put a layer of moss on certain parts just to help add more humidity. Now, if you're doing just a regular setup that's non-bioactive, you can do Eco Earth, you can do Jungle Mix. There's such a wide variety, but you mainly want a substrate that's going to hold lots of humidity. Doing a quarantine setup, paper towels will also work. But honestly, this stuff right here, Eco Earth, is the best of the best if you're doing just a regular Milky Frog setup. Now, obviously, do not get your substrates from Lowe's or Home Depot because you don't know if they have pesticides or other chemicals and whatnot in it. You just don't want to take that risk. I highly recommend getting Eco Earth overall. You can also do a full thing of sphagnum moss if you'd rather do sphagnum moss. That works too. It's just harder to clean. So a substrate, there's not too much you have to think about. You mainly want something that you can clean really quick because sometimes milky frogs can be messy. And then of course you want a good substrate that will hold lots and lots of humidity. Next up, if you couldn't already tell, we're going to be talking about water. Now this is a very important key ingredient when it comes to owning and keeping milky frogs. Now I will tell you one thing, milky frogs love their water. Every single night they are in their water bowl croaking up a storm. I can be in the entire other side of my house and hear them just screaming from their water bowl. So when it comes to these annoying loud little dudes, you have to either have a really large size water bowl, as you can see this one's bigger than my hand, or you can do a half and half paludarium type setup. I personally just use a water bowl because they are so messy and they poop in it all the time. So all I have to do is just pull it out, dump it, and rinse it, as opposed to having an entire aquatic setup. But heck, you could do something like this where it's half land, half water, or like this, once again, half land, half water. Now you definitely want to make sure you clean their water out at least every other day if you're using a water bowl. Now if you have a full-on aquatic setup with a filter, then you may not need to do a water change as often, but at least once a week at a minimum. Because once again, these guys love to poop in their water while they're croaking and screaming. Now literally what I do is I take this gallon jug here, I fill it up under the sink, and then I add some ReptiSafe. Now ReptiSafe is a water conditioner made for all sorts of reptiles and amphibians and whatnot. I really like this stuff. All you do is you just add a couple of drops and it gets rid of all the harmful chlorine in the water. Trust me, instead of having to go to the store and buy gallons on gallons on gallons to replenish your water supply, you can literally add a couple of drops of this into 1 gallon and be done. And then next, you always want to spray down your frogs. That's another way that they can get hydrated. As you can see, I'm just kind of spraying them down right here. Now I spray them once a day with the mister, and then of course they have the monsoon here. Now that nozzle sprays them twice a day, like every 12 hours or something like that. But of course, make sure you spray them down really well so that you can achieve the required humidity. Now we're going to move on to things like your cork here, your plants, and other decor and whatnot. Now I will tell you, one of the best things you can get for your Amazon milky frogs is going to be cork. And you can kind of see how I have the cork placed around the enclosure, and honestly this is one of the best materials you can use. First of all, it allows them to climb on it, but if you layer it properly, as you can see I have one here, and one here, it gives them plenty of branches to maneuver and jump around their enclosure. The other thing is, being that cork is rough textured, when they are shedding it can help them kind of rub it off and rub it looser. And of course, I really suggest live plants. Now if you are not doing a bioactive setup and you're using fake plants, then you can use pretty much any reptile branded fake plant out there. I wouldn't entirely recommend going outside and getting plants or going to like your Walmart and buying plants from Walmart, just because some of those plants may have dyes, and then of course some of the plants outside could have parasites and other harmful bacteria and whatnot that you don't want getting on your frog. For live plants, I suggest either ordering some online or getting some from like a reptile expo. And then of course same thing with your fake plants, either order some, get some at your local pet store or reptile expo as well. Then of course, as y'all can see, I have a background on this enclosure. Now a background is kind of optional, but having a background on your enclosure gives them more places to climb and explore. And these milky frogs love exploring, they love climbing, they love hopping around, and just kind of exploring their setup. Definitely have lots of fake branches and plants so that they have plenty of room for enrichment. Next up, we're going to talk about feeding these fat little frogs. Now, Amazon milky frogs are insectivores, so they're just going to eat insects. You're not going to be feeding them your salad. You're not going to be feeding them anything like that. They're not going to eat your dog food. They are strictly insectivores. So these dudes will go to town on anything from dubia roaches, crickets, mealworms, superworms. You kind of get the hint. I feed mine primarily crickets. They absolutely go crazy for crickets. Now the main reason why I feed them crickets is because dubia roaches, superworms, and mealworms will burrow down in the dirt and then we'll never see them again. Crickets just kind of run around until they get eaten. But if you're scared of crickets and you'd rather feed them mealworms or something like that, you can easily get a mealworm dish that hangs, and then they will get used to going over that dish and whoop, picking their mealworms right out. Same sort of concept with dubia roaches or any other feeder insect. Now also, when it comes to feeding, of course you'll be feeding them your dubias, your crickets and whatnot, but you want to make sure to calcium dust your insects. Now as I was saying, that UVB is literally going to absorb this calcium, or more or less I should say their body is going to absorb this calcium, allowing their bones to grow and develop properly. So basically what I'm trying to say is the UVB and the calcium powder work hand in hand to allow your milky frogs to grow and develop how they should. Now, the main reason milky frogs get their name is because when they are threatened or they feel endangered,
I'm in danger!
They will actually secrete a milky white substance out of their skin, which is known to be foul smelling and poisonous to many creatures that may try to eat them. So yeah, that was sort of the basic care on Amazon milky frogs. Now let me know if I forgot anything or if there's something I forgot to cover. But yeah, these little guys are such fun little frogs to keep as pets. And one more thing I actually almost forgot to cover is this is about their fully grown size. They only get about 2.5 to 3 inches at most. But as you can see, they're very docile little frogs. They're literally just chilling while I'm filming this video. Now all in all, they're about an intermediate to advanced pet. They're not an expert animal that you need to have lots of experience keeping, but I definitely wouldn't recommend them as a first time pet. Once you yourself has kept a couple other species of tree frogs and other amphibians and whatnot, then I would definitely recommend getting some of these guys for yourself. Well y'all, that was the complete care of keeping Amazon milky frogs as pets. Now if there's anything I forgot or y'all think I should have covered, definitely let me know down in the comments. And heck, while you're down there, you might as well like today's video. It lets me know if I should do more care videos and if y'all enjoyed. Once you've dropped a like, make sure to follow my Instagram, TheRealPirateToadYT. It's always linked in the description. And hey, if you're following me, you can literally vote on my polls. Definitely follow my Instagram if you want behind the scenes content and want to help me decide on what videos to film. Once you've liked and you follow my Instagram, definitely make sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers or something like that. We are growing a huge fan base here, and I am so happy to have you guys all along with me here in my reptile room. And then of course follow my TikTok. My TikTok's linked in the description below, but I haven't done the little icon thing that pops up when I do that. I haven't done that yet. I've been too lazy, but just follow my TikTok, link in the description. Okay. And hey, with all that being said, I will see you beautiful people all in the next one. Peace. Boop, 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 boop.